It is 10 a.m. on Capitol Hill, where House Republicans are holding the first impeachment hearing for Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas.
Hearing is focused on what the GOP calls the secretary's failed leadership at the southern border. Let's bring in CBS News Homeland Security and Justice reporter Nicole Sganga to talk more about the situation. So, Nicole, what can we expect from the hearing, and how quickly could lawmakers move on the impeachment?
Yeah, Vlad, Anne-Marie, this is the first in what House Homeland Security Chair Mark Green has promised will be a series of impeachment hearings in January. Today's panel features state attorneys general plus a former law professor. Now, as for a timeline, not a lot of precedent here in U.S. history. There's only been one cabinet member impeached, and that was in 1876. Now, back in the fall, 8 Republicans put a stop to efforts by Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene to hold a snap impeachment vote against Mayorkas on the House floor. Since then, though, House Republicans have signaled an openness to supporting this impeachment. The big question here, though, what are the charges? House GOP lawmakers have previously accused Mayorkas of lying under oath, of dereliction of duty. But what we'll be looking for today is what is the high crime or misdemeanor identified by GOP lawmakers. So far, we haven't seen any.
Yeah, so Mayorkas was at the border on Monday, and of course he defended his record. What's he been saying about the hearing?
Yeah, the Department of Homeland Security put out a memo in advance of today's hearing challenging members to ditch supporting what they're calling a baseless impeachment that is going nowhere and instead fix the broken immigration system. We've talked about this before, Anne-Marie, but it's worth saying again, Congress has not passed a bipartisan comprehensive immigration reform package since 1986, the Reagan administration. You mentioned the secretary's visit to the border. He's asking Congress for a large supplemental funding package that would deliver more personnel, tools, and technology to Border Patrol agents. And he's been on the Hill over the holiday, working with senators, trying to achieve that, especially now that funding for Ukraine also hinges on a border deal of some kind.
So explain the strategy for Republicans overall. This focus on the Biden administration's handling of the border crisis. Mayorkas is, after all, carrying out the president's policy on the border, and there have been numerous attempts in the House, as you know, Nicole, to come to some kind of a consensus. What is the reason why Democrats are, and it may be obvious to a lot of people, because we've become increasingly more divided, even politically, than we have. I'm talking about Congress, not talking about the American people. But why can't they come to some consensus?
Yeah, Vlad, there's been this finicky seesawing you've identified, right, of impeachment efforts by the House GOP. You know, we were asking, will Republicans go after the Attorney General, Merrick Garland? Are they going to try to impeach President Joe Biden? Now that they've settled on Mayorkas, Republicans in Congress are in this interesting spot of potentially, if we see it come to fruition, greenlighting a border deal carved out by the cabinet secretary that their party is actively lobbying to remove. Now, Mayorkas' impeachment is not a certainty given the slim Republican majority in the House. But if he is impeached, Mayorkas would still likely not be removed from office since conviction requires a 2/3 majority in the Senate. And many GOP senators, by the way, are raising their eyebrows at this, some even pointing out if Republicans want a referendum on the Biden administration, well, they have a pretty important election coming up in November that they can start campaigning for.
Yeah, of course, you can't forget that. Everything is tainted or tinged by this upcoming election. Nicole Sganga, thank you.